I am back, Blake the Eccentric. There's a special episode here of the Eccentric Perspective covering the event in Ferguson. We're approaching curfew time. So I wanted to bring in a caller. I think I know who this is. Let's see if I can bring him on. Hello, 567.
Hello, Blake.
Hey, Dan. All right, we've got Dan Johnson from PANDA on the line. Dan, welcome to the broadcast. It's a pleasure to have you here, sir.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me on.
Excellent. So you got a little time to pop in, so I wanted to ask you, since you were on the ground, first of all, why did you decide to make the trek out there?
You know, we saw something a couple days ago in Ferguson that the world and the nation, though it had happened a couple times before, not to this extent, the world and the nation saw what a militarized police force looks like. They saw what happens when the police dress like military, act like the military, and treat their people like the military. They saw what happens when a Huffington Post reporter and Washington Post reporter are arrested. Al Jazeera reporters are gassed. State senators are gassed. City councilmen are arrested. They saw what happens when you put an area under essentially a de facto military rule by a police department that is a military, save for the fact they're not under the Department of Defense. And as PANDA, the organization I started 2 years ago, we issued a statement at the very beginning, people against the NDAA, stopping the indefinite detention of American citizens without charge or trial, which happens because America is a battlefield. And we put up as a statement the first time that we put our website up that we do not want our children to grow up in a world where men with AR-15s stand outside their bedroom window. That's not the world we want to see. And it happened in Ferguson 3 or 4 days ago. And the police over and over again. And there were some looters. There was a criminal element here. That criminal element, a lot of them came in from out of town. Someone was arrested as far away as Texas, so far as I've heard. So
wow.
There's a criminal element here that came in, that took advantage of the unrest of the situation here. But instead of responding by going to the community and talking to them, and going to the community and reaching out, after the death of the young man, Mike Brown, the police decided to respond with military force, escalating the situation. Protesters brought it up very little. Police responded again with military force, and now, we're seeing a couple days ago the whole situation de-escalated, but now, today there was several protesters marching peacefully, and they got set upon by police with tear gas, and then the protesters responded with Molotov cocktails, and now you've got SWAT teams and APCs on scene in Ferguson, Missouri. I'm actually got home a little earlier than the nighttime. I guess I probably should have stayed out and see what happened. But you got a lot of unrest here because the police, instead of responding like a department should, like people who are protecting and serving their citizens should, they responded like a military unit, and now they've turned an entire city into an uproar.
Wow. Okay. Well, because I've been following a little bit about this, and there's been, of course, I did see there was a breaking report that there was tear gas and stuff launched around about 40 minutes ago, perhaps some shots fired. Not sure if there's rubber bullets or real bullets. And I guess that was the question. Who started it? Was it police, or was it maybe the radical elements of the protesters? Is it possible there's provocateurs?
At this point, from my conversations on the ground with people, and from what I've known, the facts I've been able to gather, the original protest on Sunday was very peaceful. It was a memorial more than a protest because the young man did die on Sunday. The original protest was more memorial than an actual protest. The police responded with canines and M16s. That escalated it to the raiding of the Quick Trip and the Quick Trip gas station that they burnt down the convenience store part of it, which has now kind of become the epicenter for the protesters. But the entire situation at that point, the police re-escalated it, and the entire situation was completely, just very, very close to completely de-escalated when I got here on Saturday. And then yesterday, the police made the very, very bad move of, or would be yesterday, would be Saturday, but Friday they actually had de-escalated, and then yesterday the police, the governor in particular, made the very bad move of instituting a curfew that you can have your First Amendment rights, but not between midnight and 5 a.m. And so the attitudes amongst the protesters that I was talking to, and we were out there till about 10 o'clock, maybe 9:30 at night, and the attitudes from the protesters went from, well, okay, we want peace and we want to have peaceful protests, to screw the curfew. And they just continue to perpetuate the cycle of violence, and they continue to respond with military force, and they're not out in the community getting to know them, and there's very little to no community relations going on. And now you have a curfew that starts at midnight, and we're already seeing massive police response, and the protesters are getting sick and tired of it. Some of them are criminal element, and some of them are leaving, but there is a certain amount of people who are frustrated enough to step it up a notch. And that's because, as I heard some young men talking about today, there was like a local football or basketball star that came around. I don't know who it was, but a lot of the young men knew him, and he was asking them, well, please keep calm, talk to the police. And one of the young men said, well, when we go to the police and go talk to them, all they got is a mask on, and there's no face there. And if they're not going to bring out their face and come like a real man, it's a two-way street. That's the sentiment among a lot of the protesters in Ferguson, is the police have not reached out to the community, have not even tried to relate with the community, and now even the State Highway Patrol, brought in by the governor, now there's a curfew. They've re-escalated the situation into something that should have died down definitely by today, probably by yesterday.
Wow. So what would you say the tone is then, I guess, right now, and what do you expect to happen in 10 minutes from now when the curfew goes back into effect?
It's real hard to tell. Last night, Alderman Antonio French from St. Louis was out talking to the protesters, speaking with them, urging them to leave before the curfew. Very few people were there after the curfew. I don't think there's going to be much of a change after the curfew tonight, because the police have been so intent on dispersing protesters today that it's, from the reports I've been seeing, the live streams on Vice News, where there are several local residents saying that it started at 9, that the police came down the street and started to disperse the protesters as they came toward the mobile command center. Now, the police are probably going to say, well, that we felt the mobile command center was threatened. Well, the protesters have First Amendment right to go as close to the police tape as they want to without crossing it in your command center. So we're seeing a lot of news reports, seeing a lot of live streams. Live streams are probably the best for people to get the real news out of Ferguson. Vice does really good, and InfoWars, as much as I don't like to credit them with terribly much, InfoWars has done a great job on Ferguson, and I have to place credit where credit's due.
Well, they have done a great job. I don't know if they've got a live feed up tonight. They were having difficulties with it yesterday. And, yes, you mentioned Vice News, and, yes, Timcast. Is that what it's called, Timcast? Or I forget the guys. I'll have to look at this up again. But he's been doing a phenomenal job out there. His name is, Timcast, at Timcast on Twitter, is running a pretty good feed and has been the last few nights. So that's definitely something to check out. I don't know what's going on with InfoWars tonight. It's too bad because, yes, Jason Biggs and Jakari Jackson and crew have been doing a really good job. It's been really proud of all that stuff. So, so there's larger crowds. Now, it seemed like last night I would say that things died down a lot because of the rain. So you're saying that even though there's a lot more people out tonight, you think that this is probably not going to be much happening in about 6 minutes from now? They've actually kind of found a way to shut the events down tonight?
Not so much that there won't be much happening, but I don't think there's going to be a huge change. Like, unlike the curfew that was fast approaching on Saturday night, last night,
Right.
where the police did not respond until the curfew went in play. Tonight they've been responding all night. So to say that there's going to be a huge difference, 6-minute curfew, very hard to predict the future. But I don't think there will be. What I have seen from the police, however, is and I really will not go after the police. I'm going to say the police leadership. Police leadership and the leadership of the state, particularly the governor, they have, instead of handling this situation calmly and instituting an investigation and appointing a special prosecutor to look into the information that we really don't know what happened with the original police alleged shooting. But what we do know is they handled the situation badly. And what most people don't know is they handled the situation very badly up till about Friday, and where they brought the state police in. And Friday night, the state police did not respond to anything on the main drag where the protesters were and the looting was happening. And local residents would call the police and they would say, well, no, we're not responding to anything on that street tonight. That is a very interesting message to send to the people, that either you get a military response or we don't show up. And a very unfortunate message to send.
Yeah, speaking of that, I've heard kind of an interesting rumor, because I can't prove that, but maybe that would explain kind of the odd behavior by some of the people in the leadership or any of the places. I'm also hearing different reports about the police, or whether they're the local police or the DHS, or whether they've imported these people, much like the Bundy Ranch. They said that they were probably not like PLM agents, but they were some sort of special forces. They bring in the goons.
I can say, based on, and I've been on the ground a long time, or quite a bit on Saturday. Like, I think I was there from about 10 or 9 to 10. So I saw most of the police. I was on the ground today, saw most of the police. There are a little bit of St. Louis County backing up the state patrol. The only federal agents in the area are very low-profile FBI agents. Unless they're plainclothes or they're hiding in the back, there are no supposed militias here. There are no Blackwater. There are no Xery. There are no again, unless they're plainclothes. We do have some standard officers from local departments with St. Louis County. We have local departments. We have being led by the State Highway Patrol, and then we have some St. Louis County providing a little bit of backup.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think what I was going to say is with maybe the leadership acting odd, I've heard a rumor that says that they're perhaps potentially taking orders from the Department of Homeland Security. Have you heard anything about that?
I haven't heard anything about that.
Think it's possible?
I mean, it's possible that anyone's taking orders from anyone. I mean, unless you're listening into the conversations, it's very difficult to confirm. But I see that the people making those rumors will have to bring the facts forward to support them. That the burden of proof is on them to prove that here is Homeland Security working with the police department. So far, all I've seen is a very, very, very minimal federal response, not out in the streets, not visible at all. State response and a local response that they're just continually escalating the situation, which should have been calm. And the question now becomes less of will they escalate it anymore, and more of A, when will they stop, and B, what kind of permanent damage to the police and community relationship will result from the situation that the local government has found itself in.
Interesting. I've got another question for you. how does, in light of what's been happening with this case, now it's been hard to get some details out. Today, of course, the last couple of days it's been reported that this Michael Brown was involved in a robbery, and there's been autopsy results coming out today, not supporting the narrative about him getting shot in the back, as the reporters said that all of the bullets he was shot from the front, perhaps charged the officer. Has that changed anything? I mean, I don't know what you're hearing out there. Has it changed anything, or is this whole situation bigger than Michael Brown? It's about something else.
From the people on the ground that I've talked to and the people of Ferguson, the specific information is not really affecting the crowd, so to speak. It's been focused completely on Michael Brown being shot with his hands in the air. In fact, there's a very popular chant around here, hands up, don't shoot. You may have seen it on some of the media outlets.
Oh, yeah, you hear it all the time on these live feeds. Yeah,
every time a police car will roll by, or every time cops will go by, everybody goes, hands up, don't shoot. So I think it's very popular. What I'm seeing with this more and more is for some people it is. For some people it is a shock. But for the vast majority of people, it never was about Michael Brown. It's not that they didn't care for him. It was a human life that was taken. It's not that they didn't take it seriously. It's that they all had stories of being treated like second-class citizens by the local police. And story after story, whether it's resisting arrest or whether it was just rudeness, all kinds of stuff. And I think Michael Brown was just a flashpoint for all of the concerns from the local people with their police. And it could have been him or it could have been another incident. They're rallying around him, but even if autopsy results confirm the officer was firing in self-defense, and let's say everything shows that the officer was perfectly in the right, I don't think it's going to matter as much as all the prior, whether it's crimes or whether it's violating people's rights or whether they're just alleged crimes, but the reputation the police department has with the people of Ferguson is very, very strained, to say the least. So I don't think this is so much about Michael Brown as he's the symbol of how the police have treated these people for years and years and years. The secondary narrative is about the militarization of the police, but the primary narrative is this was just the spark that lit the powder keg that's been here for a while.
Yeah, I think that's exactly what I think as well. Yes, it's totally evolved into something different, and now it's also, it's forcing us to have a conversation about the militarization of police, which is a really good thing, because I think it's also helping, bring, even left and right together on that issue of where this is going, and this is the kind of country we want to live in, and of course you play a big role in that with your activism, starting PANDA, and going against NDAA. Let's see if I got one other question. How do you think this will be resolved? How do you see this getting fixed now?
Oh, man. It's
being on the ground in Ferguson, seeing you've been there for a day and a half now, perhaps. How do you see this?
Hey, Dan's been there for a day and a half, and he runs an organization that's very concerned about this issue. Obviously, he has a solution to years and years of problems. That's fine. It's going to go for a week, another day. Have you heard any ideas of what is going to appease everybody and people are going to go home? Because you think if they just blot out the cop's head on a plate a couple days ago, people would have been like, oh, okay, there's justice, we all go home. But he might not even
be in the wrong necessarily, even though it's a terrible tragedy, and perhaps there's something to be said there. But what happens?
It's very difficult. I mean, just put the facts of the case aside for now.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Because again, it's not so much about the semantics of the case as about the widespread oppression these people have felt from the local police department for a very long time. And with that in mind, and I will say this is just speculation, because it is on my part, but from what I've seen, what I'm able to gather, both in my own research online and watching the live streams and in talking to people, is the government needs to stop trying to save face. The only reason that Governor Nixon instituted the curfew is because he wanted to seem like he was in control. And the fact is, they lost control of the situation on Sunday night. They should have let it play out from there and recognized their mistake. They did not. They continued to try to correct the mistake, and they made another mistake. And the police leadership and the state leadership and the local leadership made a final mistake by putting this curfew in place and saying, well, you have First Amendment rights, but not between the hours of 12 and 5 a.m. And I think a lot of people in Ferguson are fairly educated on their rights when it comes to the police. Based on what I thought, it was very interesting to hear them talk about, the right to film and all that stuff. So it's very good. But in order for this situation to come to a close, the state, the local, county, the government needs to stop trying to save face and start trying to protect their citizens' rights. Because as long as they try to save face, as long as they try to, oh, we're in control, we got this, you can trust us, as long as they try to do that, and as long as they try to control this, and as long as they try, they're just going to make it worse for them down the road. And it's just going to foment more unrest in the community, it's going to foment more people going out in the streets. It's just not going to work. So back down, not just back down and go away. Back down, recognize you made a mistake. Talk to the people about your mistake. Don't walk out there with riot gear. Talk to the people about your mistake. There is a criminal element. Take care of the criminal element. The vast majority of people are not. And you will keep this place peaceful, and you will bring it back some stability if you start interacting with and working with the community. But the government's too busy trying to save face to do that, and until they stop, they will either do one of two things. Number one, they will press so hard on the community that the community will give up because the state just has that much violent power. But they won't, but the sentiment will not leave. And the next time something happens here, it will be even worse. Or they will not stop. The community will not back down, and the government escalating will mean the community escalates it, and they will just create a tumultuous place where they didn't need to be this type of thing. It's on the government now. It's on the state. It's on the local. It's on the county government. It's on the police department to recognize they made a mistake. Stop trying to save face. Stop trying to pretend you didn't arrest journalists. Stop trying to pretend you didn't oppress the community. Stop. Back up. Realize you made a mistake. Accept it and move forward. And until they do that, there will continue to be unrest in the community.
Yeah, they seem to be really struggling with that because they're not able to kind of get away with some of the things that they have been able to in years past with the rise of new media, like people like out there that are InfoWars or Vice News or anybody out there with a camera that doesn't work for CNN or Fox or MSNBC, and you're getting different sides of the story, and they can't control the debate anymore like it was 20 years ago. They could say whatever they want, and there was nobody to conflict with that narrative. Now everybody's 12,000 people probably watching the live feed on Twitter on Vice News right now. So, the world is watching. I don't know when they're going to figure that one out. let's see. Well, I was going to add a quick one. I'm sorry, I keep holding you here, Dan. I had a question. I thought there was an interesting solution, perhaps, on the WhiteHouse.gov, a petition about what do you think of this? Because I know you're involved in, NDAA, and you're fighting against the 1984 state and all that. What do you think about, having all police officers wearing cameras at all times? I've heard reports. It seems like that deters crime, or that deters incidents so far. But it's not, I don't think not a lot of departments have them, and of course Ferguson obviously does not. Do you think that'll be a good change, or do you think there's more to it? It's a good idea.
I think that while it may be a good idea, it's important to remember that trusting the police or the government to go after and prosecute corruption within the government is somewhat silly. The most important thing people can do is to protect themselves. Get a camera, make sure you know your rights with police, make sure you know the two questions to ask: am I being detained and am I free to go? Make sure that you have a camera running, and make sure if you have live streaming capability on most people have smartphones, at least a good amount of people have smartphones. And if you pull up the Ustream app on your smartphone, you can get that running in 5 seconds. Please take your camera. It'll have evidence of them taking your camera, and you have it saved on an online place. It's the best way to prevent your rights from being violated. Bring your own camera, record the police yourself, because then you have the footage. Then you can trust yourself to release and work with the footage. Trusting the government to police the government hasn't worked for the past 200 years, and it's not going to work in the future.
Wow, yeah. Well said. Interesting points there, Dan. It's been a pleasure speaking to you. So how long are you going to be out there? Or do you just kind of indefinite, or what's going on?
Indefinite detention in Ferguson.
Right.
I will be out here for a little while. I'm not sure how long. Depends on how long I can be out here to help the community. And the vast majority, 97% of the people, are absolutely peaceful protesters for now. And I think most of them will stay that way, but some of them will obviously respond to the escalation in police violence. When it comes to the area, depends on how long they need me here and how long I can help. If I can't help long, I'll be home. If I can help a little while, I'll be here. I mean, this is the chance to send a message to every single police department in the country. You do not send your police department in like they're the military into a community, or you will lose your job. The chance to send that message. And it's just me figuring out, is the community ready to send that message, or are they comfortable with just protesting, getting their anger out, and then going home?
Wow. Well said again. We're so glad to have you out there, Dan. And where can people follow you in your work?
They can follow Panda in particular at pandaunite.org, and on Twitter at pandaunite, facebook.com/pandaunite. Also, maybe I'll, if I ever got out of my indefinite detention in Ferguson, I will. I'm looking at launching a new project here shortly, so I may want to come on the show and announce that here in a couple weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime. It's always a pleasure. We really like all the work you do. You've been doing an awesome job, and now you're out on the right out on the front lines out there in Ferguson. So awesome. Thank you so much for being here, and we certainly hope, if you have any other final words, otherwise I hope to talk to you again soon.
All right, great. Thanks for having me on the show, and thanks to all your listeners. Once again, only you can protect your rights, and that's what they're finding out in Ferguson, and that's hopefully what people find out across the country.
All right. Thanks, Dan. Take care, buddy. All right, and there goes Dan Johnson of PANDA. Yeah, you can find him at pandaunite.org. I don't know if I got his Twitter handle there. Follow him on Twitter. I wonder if he's going to be live tweeting some whatever is going on. I do have another call on the line as well. I want to jump to that and see what's going on with that. I'll see what else I can find on Twitter. Otherwise, I'm probably going to close up the shop because we're past curfew, and I almost kind of want to watch what's going on in the live streams. Somebody mentioned exactly. We'll see what Tim is doing of Vice News. But let me take this call here. Greetings, 111.
Yeah, what's up, man? I was actually trying to get in on the end of you guys' conversation to kind of ask him a few questions. But if you're going to close up shop and get on live stream, hey, I'm doing the same thing right now, brother, so I understand.
Yeah, 'cause I'm not actually there on the scene. Otherwise, I'd love to do some live reporting there, but it's hard for me to follow that up. So I just wanted to get a live reporter there and see what they had to say right around this midnight hour. Are you anywhere near the Ferguson area?
No, I'm just trying to keep up on what's going on. I'm actually in Georgia, so I'm a little ways away. I'm just trying to keep up on everything.
Yeah, I'd love to have you to stay here and tune in, but yeah, as I said, I'm probably going to tune into the live stream myself so I can get the video and everything up to the second. So, but I appreciate the call. Perhaps another time. All right.
All right. Can I give you one thing, though? Can I give you one thing, though, bro?
For sure.
Try to think in your mind of what the narrative is going to be in mainstream media tomorrow through the news and newspapers and everything else, and just see how accurate you are. So far, I've been doing pretty good most days of predicting how they're trying to frame this whole story. But give yourself that little homework, man, and see how accurate you are, man. It's crazy. It's how predictable they're becoming.
Yeah, they're really struggling against the new media out there with their changing the narrative, and people can use their critical thinking skills and listen to their common sense and find out that perhaps the story is not so much what they thought it was, and they can't control what people see and hear anymore.
Indeed. Good show, man. Y'all have a good night.
All right, you too. Thanks, man.
All right.
All right. So, yes, I think I'm going to close up shops. Nice call there from Georgia on this special broadcast. Wanted to cover a little Ferguson news. So I do want to thank Dan Johnson and for being here tonight of PANDA. He's just an awesome rising star in the new media, great activist. Very dedicated, fighting the system, NDAA, and now out in St. Louis there over in Ferguson, getting ground out. Oh, okay. A little outro music. So anyway, and thank you to Brian Engelman. I know he's out there in the background getting some promotion, tweeting out, getting people tuning in to the show, but I am going to close up shop for tonight. And as I've said, for anybody out there, get on Twitter. It's probably the place to be to find the latest going on in Ferguson. As the last caller said, it's kind of getting a different view when you're looking at CNN or Fox or MSNBC or any of that stuff. I personally, I'm a big fan of InfoWars. They've been doing some good stuff. I don't know if their live feed's out tonight, but Tim Cast has probably done some of the best over the last few days at Vice News. Excellent coverage. So if you see anything, I would stick there. Of course, you can always get your hashtags, get on Twitter, find Ferguson. Somebody will have a live stream somewhere. And please follow us at Twitter. I'm at Eccentric99. You can follow Brian at American_media_ and catch up on the latest on this big the big story across the country, perhaps the world. So we'll be tuning in. So thank you all for listening. Have a great night, and we'll see you next time.